taki moment, że będę stał.
Dobra, nie ma problemu.
Więc postaram się tutaj wcisnąć możliwie, ale będę przeszkadzał. Myślę, że w ten sposób, ale byś nie widziała wcale. Dobra.
Good evening. My name is Dariusz Bogalski, and I'm a journalist with the Polish Radio Channel 3, and it is my honor to welcome you to this awards ceremony of the International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Award for 2019. This is the 7th time we've been awarding this prize, and I want to welcome everyone, and I want to begin with a request. Let's begin by welcoming Katarzyna Herbert. And now I want to invite Maria Dzieduszycka, the president of the Zbigniew Herbert Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, welcome on behalf of the Zbigniew Herbert Foundation. The annual Zbigniew Herbert International Literary Award not only commemorates its patron, but also, and above all, to recall the values inherent in his poetry, which continues to speak to us today. In his poem, Mr. Cogito and the Imagination, Herbert wrote that his protagonist never trusted tricks of the imagination, and the piano at the top of the Alps played false concerts for him because he used the imagination for entirely different purposes. He wanted to make it an instrument of compassion. Poetry, which is an instrument of compassion, will allow us to understand Pascal's night, the melancholy of the prophets, Achilles' wrath, Neanderthal fear, the despair of the last Aztecs, and the joy of the painter of Lascaux. Such poetry allows us to understand others and ourselves. And this is the type of poetry that we want to recognize with the Herbert Award. We would not be able to do this without the support of many individuals and institutions. We're very grateful to all of them. I would especially like to thank the PZU Foundation, our strategic partner this year. Thank you very much. Our partner in this ceremony is the Embassy of the State of Israel. I would like to welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Anna Azari. And I want to welcome Mr. Jacek Chodorowicz, the long-serving ambassador of Poland to Israel. Welcome. And representatives of many organizations and Polish and Jewish organizations and institutions. We're happy to have you here. I want to thank our partner, the Adam Mickiewicz Institute, and especially everybody at Culture PL, the portal thanks to which this ceremony is being streamed live online. I would also like to thank the management and team at Teatr Polski, the Traple Konarski Podrecki law firm for their legal support. I want to thank the National Library for their cooperation and our media patron, Polish Radio. In closing, I would like to quote Herbert and ask that, like Mr. Cogito before us, we appreciate tautologies, explanations, idem per idem, and remain true to uncertain clarity. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great evening. That was Maria Dziduszycka. Thank you very much. And now Krzysztof Gosztyła will read a selection of poems by Zbigniew Herbert. Krzysztof Gosztyła.
Pan Cogito rozmyśla o cierpieniu. Wszystkie próby oddalenia tak zwanego kielicha goryczy przez refleksję, opętańczą akcję na rzecz bezdomnych kotów, głęboki oddech, religię, zawiodły. Należy zgodzić się, pochylić łagodnie głowę, nie załamywać rąk, posługiwać się cierpieniem w miarę łagodnie, jak protezą, bez fałszywego wstydu, ale także bez pychy, nie wywijać kikutem nad głowami innych, nie stukać białą laską w okna sytych, pić wyciąg gorzkich ziół, ale nie do dna, zostawić przezornie, parę łyków na przyszłość przyjąć, ale równocześnie wyodrębnić w sobie i, jeśli to jest możliwe, stworzyć z materii cierpienia rzecz albo osobę. Grać z nim, oczywiście, grać. Bawić się z nim bardzo ostrożnie, jak z chorym dzieckiem, wymuszając w końcu głupimi sztuczkami nikły uśmiech. Pan od przyrody. Nie mogę przypomnieć sobie jego twarzy. Stawał wysoko nade mną, na długich, rozstawionych nogach. Widziałem złoty łańcuszek, popielaty surdut i chudą szyję, do której przyszpilony był nieżywy krawat. On pierwszy pokazał nam nogę zdechłej żaby, która dotykana igłą gwałtownie się kurczy. On nas wprowadził przez złoty binokular w intymne życie naszego pradziadka, pantofelka. On przyniósł ciemne ziarno i powiedział: sporyż. Z jego namowy w 10. roku życia zostałem ojcem, gdy po napiętym oczekiwaniu z kasztana zanurzonego w wodzie ukazał się żółty kiełek i wszystko rozśpiewało się wokoło. W 2. roku wojny zabili pana od przyrody, łobuzy od historii. Jeśli poszedł do nieba, może chodzi teraz na długich promieniach odzianych w szare pończochy, z ogromną siatką i zieloną skrzynką, wesoło dyndającą z tyłu. A jeśli nie poszedł do góry? Kiedy na leśnej ścieżce spotykam żuka, który gramoli się na kopiec piasku, podchodzę, szastam nogami i mówię: dzień dobry, panie profesorze. Pozwoli pan, że mu pomogę. Przenoszę go delikatnie i długo za nim patrzę, aż ginie w ciemnym pokoju profesorskim na końcu korytarza liści.
That was Krzysztof Gosztyła. Thank you very much. And allow me to recall the names of the members of the jury of the Herbert Award. It is made up of poets, scholars of literature, and translators. Yuri Andruchowicz, Edward Hirsch, Mikhail Kruger, Mercedes Monmani, Tomasz Różycki, and Andrzej Franaszek is the secretary of the award. Now I would like to ask Tomasz Różycki, poet and translator, to deliver the laudation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Writing poems in Hebrew is a challenge. It is the language of the book, and even the most innocuous word can bear hidden meanings, depending on which of the holy texts it had been used previously. It is a language in which letters and words have their symbolic and numerological meaning, a language that is written down without vowels, a code understood by the initiated, a language which is transcendent and metaphysical by nature, because the physical consonants require a non-physical complement. That is why understanding and properly reading a sentence requires familiarity with vocabulary and the rules of grammar that govern morphology. They require a knowledge of the laws. One could perhaps say that the vowels invisible in the Hebrew writing are the divine spirit of the language, a whisper that breathes life into the bones and makes dry twigs turn green. It is not for us to determine whether the choice of such an alphabet for Hebrew was indeed caused by divine intervention as part of a grammatical process, or whether it was caused by the prudence of the fathers of language who wanted to preserve a degree of freedom to interpret the strict rules that were being written down in the new alphabet. This ambiguity in the alphabet makes interpretation and commentary possible, which gives a way out of every linguistic trap. The possibility of permutation, negotiating meanings, and perhaps something like a profit and loss analysis. Excess of meaning is subject to the laws of economics, inflation, capitalization. Sofrim, the scribes, were teachers of the law. This is good news for good poets only. It is very easy to fall into banality. The space between the vowels can be an abyss in which all meaning perishes. A rocky and arid no man's land where anything goes and nothing matters. On this no man's land, Agi Mishol's poem is like a donkey strapped with explosives. It shakes us out of our complacency. It blinds and deafens us. It engages our senses. Agi Mishol was born shortly after World War II in Transylvania in a Hungarian-speaking family. Her elder sister perished in Auschwitz. Her parents survived the camps and emigrated to Israel when Agi was 4. She began learning Hebrew in school in Israel. She writes in Hebrew, and asked by Beata Tarnowska whether Hebrew as an artistic medium is a source of inspiration or more of a burden, she replied, "For me, Hebrew is a sacred language." Even though we know relatively few of her poems in Polish, they were translated by Beata Tarnowska, Angelika Adamczyk, and Justyna Radczyńska, we see, it is evident that Agi Mishol's poetry is vivid. It has a Mediterranean joie de vivre and sensuality, eroticism, warmth. It is like a peach orchard, like the one the poet lives in Israel. It is a story of love and of loved ones, sometimes about their passing away. As in the case of her parents, of poems about her parents, it is a story about the present, full of the here and now, and the market, in stores, internet, the bedroom, the kitchen, the field, and the highway. It is a tale of victims of war, the old roots of thousand-year-old olive trees in West Bank settlements, which, like Hebrew consonants, grow new and unexpected shoots. This is surprising poetry that shatters our habits while retaining simplicity and force with its burden of emotion. It is a hymn celebrating vitality, life in itself. Perhaps that is why there are so many poems about animals, because what else, if not life itself, are animals, life unadorned. And this, as in the poem about a victim of war ignored by the media, a white donkey that was strapped with dynamite by fighters and sent to the enemy lines, but it stops in the middle of no man's land. Like donkeys do, it freezes in place in rapture or stupor. Those who sent it start shooting at it because they're afraid it'll turn back. Those against whom the donkey was sent also begin shooting because they understand what its payload is. The donkey is blown up in the sky, between the two parties and ascends to heaven, an explosive Messiah. It is taken to heaven where 72 virgin jennies will lick its wounds. There are more such innocent victims of war. The poem about the woman martyr, Andaliptakatka, which, as Mishol writes, sweeps along victims in a bakery, begins like a hymn to her beauty, beginning like the Song of Songs. You are only 20, and your first pregnancy is a bomb. Under your broad skirt, you are pregnant with dynamite and metal shavings. This is how you walk into the market, ticking among the people, you Andaliptakatka. In an interview with Beata Tarnowska, Agi Mishol, this year's recipient of the Herbert Award, said that the most interesting thing in poetry is what happens in the space between words. There is no other language in which two words that mean separate things would be so related, so connected by a common root. So what happens between words, between consonants, these explosions of unexpected meaning, will not surprise us if we remember something said a long time ago. Poems are like daydreams, holy raving, that at first glance doesn't lend itself to logic, but is subject to serious exegesis. And when the poet describes a dream about another ascension when she herself visited heaven, where she saw not people but abandoned and hurt animals, as if heaven were an ark for all vulnerable animals. A huge, white, furry Great Pyrenee sprawling on a cushion, and around him the poodle from the Humane Society, and the mongrel from the road to Rehovot, and the one abandoned in the Yavne station, and not only these, generations of cats whose spirits were refreshed by the Fristies kit I keep in my car, puppies from the coastal plain, one frozen heron I fan-dried in winter, mice I returned to the field from the house, spiders I saved from the cleaning ladies, a porcupine whose fleas I removed with a tweezer, all of them were there. In this dream heaven was full of dog tenderness and mercy. And if animals were in heaven, where do people go after they die? Maybe all of them, all are dead, stay here with us, but in a slightly different form, which is why we can't recognize them. Just like the biology teacher from Herbert's poem, the one killed in the second year of the war by history's schoolyard bullies. When, on a path in summer, I meet a beetle clambering over a mound of sand, I go up to it, make a bow, and say, "Good day, sir, permit me to assist you." I transfer him gingerly and watch him go off until he has vanished into his murky professor's office at the end of an avenue of leaves. Congratulations. The Zbigniew Herbert International Literary Award goes to Agi Mishol. Please take a seat. And now, Grażyna Melanowicz from the PZU Foundation and Adam Zagajewski from the Herbert Foundation. I'm asking both of you to speak and then award the prize, but I hope this won't be a problem. Grażyna Melanowicz, then Adam Zgajewski, and then I'll ask both of you to give the prize to Agi Mishol. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the PZU Foundation is supporting the International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Award. This initiative served to disseminate the work of the greatest 20th century Polish poet and also serves to promote Polish culture. The International Zbigniew Herbert Literary Award is an exceptional honor because Zbigniew Herbert is a poet who enjoys great artistic authority and moral authority, a moral compass. His work contains a universal message of truth and artistic courage, which is why it speaks to us today. It remains relevant. Congratulations, Agi Mishol. Good evening. My name is Adam Zagajewski, and I'm a member of the board of the Zbigniew Herbert Foundation. We work very hard, I assure you. Today is a special day to the extent that some poets have even put on their ties, which doesn't happen very often. But all joking aside, I'm moved that for the first time I've been asked to give this award on behalf of the board, on behalf of the foundation. As Maria Dzieduszycka said, this is the 7th time we've given this award. The recipients include Ryszard Krzynicki, who's with us here today, among other great poets. Was there anything else I was supposed to say? And so now allow us together with, I also wanted to say a few words actually, because I forgot to mention that Agi Mishol has come to us from a country of great poets, and she comes to another country of great poets, the country of Herbert, Miłosz Szymborska, coming from the country of Yehuda Amichai, Natan Zach, and other great poets. So this is truly a special occasion, a conjunction of poetic traditions that encounter in various ways. History has brought them together, often in a bloody way, while literature brings them together in a friendly, amicable, bloodless way. Congratulations to Agi Mishol, and now the material manifestation of the prize. Let me just say a few words about the award. The award is a sculpture designed by Staroshek and Rycerski architects. The winner will also receive a check for $50,000. The PZU Foundation is the strategic partner of the Zbigniew Herbert International Literary Award.
Teraz zapraszam panią Agi Mishol
Agi Mishol.
i proszę o zabranie głosu. Podziękowanie za nagrodę. Pani Agi Mishol przeczyta również wiersze, tłumaczenia zobaczymy. Bardzo proszę.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to stand here before you to be awarded the prize in memory of the poet I love so much, Zbigniew Herbert. Writing is work that is done in solitude, and the physical distance between the room in my small village and standing here before you still seems to me unreal. Thank you so much. Poetry is something I have dedicated my life to. My parents, survivors of the Hungarian Holocaust, left Transylvania for Israel in 1950 when I was 3 years old. They arrived with almost nothing in order to begin life all over again. I, their only child, was their conclusive answer to everything they had been through, and they taught me to look ahead. Young children who navigate from one language to another are different from native-born children who speak their language naturally. They become little translators. They live in the twilight zone between the languages, in the no man's land of synonyms, and their sense of language becomes more acute. I have no doubt that part of the reason I became a poet began then when I was very young. My parents didn't read much, and I grew up in a home without books. As a child, I hardly read at all, and I discovered poetry relatively late. I will never forget the moment when I suddenly realized that there is another kind of secret language that hides inside ordinary language. I'm sure that every poet remembers that moment when the door opens and this thing we are born with, which no workshop can teach, comes to life. The most wonderful thing that happened to me was my encounter with the Hebrew language at the right age, when I could still absorb it in its dense fullness. In one of my poems, I wrote to my mother, quote, "Your mother tongue is not my mother tongue." A strange sentence. I can speak Hungarian, but it is not mine. Hebrew is the linguistic space where I'm truly alive. I regard it as holy tongue, not in the habitual religious sense. It is holy to me because its inner contents reverberate my own sense of existence. Indeed, the reverberation between Hebrew words and their meanings create magic, both musical and semantic. The magic of Hebrew depends on its grammatical structure and its long history. Grammatically, the language is fantastically compact and economical. Everything in it, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, flow from a rather limited series of dense roots, each consisting of three consonants. From each root sprouts and flourishes a rich and colorful array of words with many diverse meanings and uses. Yet these peacocktail of words are somewhere connected to a hidden center. It is as if loud bells are being answered by distant, quiet ones. Each presents a semantic surface with overtones and undertones. When the words are used sensitively, they produce unending musical and semantic associations. Historically, the language forged a very long journey through time and space. By sheer movement through ages and continents, and on its way brushing against so many other languages, it has become richly multi-layered. An Israeli child can read the Bible in its ancient version and understand most of what he reads. The poet, while carried along by the rhythmus and the spoken idiom, can also delve into the depths of linguistic time. Indeed, the riches he collects and the energies he absorbed are such that sometimes he feels he must rein in the language, somewhat diminish its aura for the purpose of achieving sharpness and directness. Choosing me, a poet who writes in Hebrew, is also a choice of all translators. The blessed meridians who move poetry from one language to another, and I sense a need to thank them as well. The work of translation is an unparalleled act of generosity which means making space inside yourself in order to host an entire poet who is not yourself, and to relate to his poems in the same responsible way you would relate to your own poems. If poetry has any rule at all, it is to remind us of ourselves, to point to the more elevated parts of our psyche, conscience, morality, beauty. Equally, poetry alerts us to injustice and suffering, and in this aspect, translations that transcend borders without passport or visa contribute to the benefit of the human race. Probably you all know that Polish poetry is very much appreciated and respected in Israel. We were acquainted with the great poets of Poland after World War II, mostly thanks to one person, Professor David Weinfeld, who was a child during the ravages of the war. He left Poland, arrived in Israel at the age of 12, but did not leave the Polish poetry of his youth. Who could have guessed that the boy who had been through all that would be the one to open the gate to Polish poetry for Israeli readers, and would shoulder the masterful translations of the late great Polish poets, Czesław Miłosz, Zbigniew Herbert, Wisława Szymborska, and may they live and be well, Ryszard Krynicki and Adam Zagajewski. These masterpieces of translation have had a great effect on generations of Israeli poets, including myself. Polish poetry after World War II offers us a model for contemporary poetry which took leave from the high exclusive modernism of Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot and spoke clearly and directly to people of our time. I first encountered Herbert's poetry through Weinfeld's translations when he gave me Herbert's first book. We sat then in the company of Mr. Cogito, amazed at the wisdom, sensitivity, and wit. Humor was often an attempt to compensate for some of the world's wrongs, and irony was often just the other face of being hurt. After that book was published, many more followed, and then a large volume of Herbert's translation was published and became a bestseller in Israel. Being a poet in Israel, in the heart of the Middle East, is full of tension, stresses, and constant uneasiness. My village is not far away from Gaza border and is located under the flight paths of 3 different military air bases. We are farmers. My husband Giora grows peaches and pomegranates. Nature is a part of our lives, and my poems are filled with the flora and fauna of the land of Israel. However, when I write a poem about a flower or an animal, people can often protest, is that what you have to write about? Where do you think you live? They accuse me sometimes of escapism. I once had a reading in Berlin with the great Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish. The audience was mostly Muslim. When he read love poems, they protested and demanded that he read political poems. Later, when we shared a taxi to the airport, he told me it was distressing for him that the expectation from him no longer allow his muse to roam freely. When one lives in a reality that is filled with violence, suffering, and victims, one cannot ignore that reality, even if it tries sometimes to defend himself from it. When the political situation is far from reach and beyond the horizon, I often recall Herbert's wonderful passage about the knot that can't be untied, the Gordian knot. I quote Herbert. When Mr. Cogito grows old and his mind settles down, he will not collect stamps or old coins or even rare books. He will then establish the world's first collection of knots that can't be untied. He will try to convince other people of the charm that resides in knots. People have never valued knots that can't be untied, and they have never learned to appreciate their complex beauty. They have always slid through a knot that can't be untied with a swish of a sword, like that Macedonian idiot, or simply untied it, proud that they now had in their hands a disgusting rope they could use to tie up a piglet or wind around someone else's neck. That's beautiful. In 1991, Herbert received the Jerusalem Prize. I had the honor of attending the award ceremony. I know he had a deep connection with Jerusalem and with three cherished people who lived there and were also friends of mine. Weinfeld, about I've already spoken, and two great poets, Yehuda Amichai and Dan Pagis. In one of Herbert's poems, by the name of A Stone in Jerusalem, Herbert mentions all three of them. In the poem, he asked to be buried in Jerusalem, in the midst of the olive trees, under the sun and the stones of the city. Among the people he invites to his imagined funeral are David Weinfeld, I quote, his patient teacher of the language of the prophets, and Yehuda Amichai, who he wrote is a lion cub, according to the biblical description of the tribe of Yehuda. The third invited guest was Dan Pagis, who he says would be unable to attend the funeral because he was already dead, but would be close to him for all eternity. I feel a closeness to that poem as if I'm among friends, because Yehuda Amichai was the first to call me poet. That was when I was a young student at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and I signed up for his writing workshop. At that time, he translated Elsa Laskar Schiller's poems. At the end of the workshop, he gave me a copy of that book as a gift, and as a dedication, he wrote to Agi from Elsa, a sister poet, and I as a go-between. That was the first time anyone called me a poet, and I felt as if it was my initiation ceremony. After Yehuda's death, I had the honor of becoming the first to win the Poetry Prize in his memory. And Dan Pagis was my professor of medieval poetry at the Hebrew University. I wish to leave you with the words of Antigonus from Soho, who lived in Israel 200 years BC and was perceived after his death as the spiritual teacher. And he said, I quote, "Do not be like servants that serve their master in order to receive a prize. Instead, be like servants who serve their master with no intention of receiving any prize." This ancient wisdom was phrased in a theological context. However, On the other hand, here on earth, it is quite rewarding to receive such an honorable prize, and there is no necessity to always engage in heavenly matters. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now I will read you some of my poems. And the first one is a GPS direction to my house. רד מדרך המלך והמשך ישר עד לכיכר שלושת הזיתים. אין לך מושג מיהו המרדכי שעל שמו נקרא הכפר הזה, שכולם מבלבלים אותו עם יד מרדכי. בעוד 100 מטר פני שמאלה, פני שמאלה. מימין תוכל לראות חבילות חציר בדרכן אל הלחם, ולהריח אם תפתח את החלון שלף לך. מישהו אופטימי עם אוזניות יצעד תמיד נמרץ ממול. אשאר בחוץ את המרפק וחלוף על פניו עד דלתי בו חוצים טווסים את הצומת. פני ימינה. השמש עכשיו בגבך, אם כי יפה יותר לראות אותה ממלאת בכתום את מראת הצד. בשעה הזאת, שעת הצלמים, ענני נוצה וניחוח האלמון, כשתחלוף על פני גשר מעל אפיק אכזב של הסורק, ישתנה פתאום מצב הרוח שלך, ומראה גגות המכסים את הבתים, יעורר בך געגועים של יתום. משם כבר פשוט להגיע אליי. אפשר אפילו בניוטרל, להתגלגל עד לשלט משעול, ממנו יצאו לקראתך הכלבים, שינבחו, אך גם יחשקשו בזנב, ולפני שתצא מהרכב, תצטרך להחליט לאיזה קצה להאמין. נוקטורן, thank you. Thank you. נוקטורן. בתוך הבית הכל אגור. הסוכר בצנצנת, הלחם בארגז הלחם, הסכין במגירה, האוכל בקדרה, הרוחות הרעות בין כפלי הווילון, זה על גבי זה הציפות, הציפיות, התחתונים, החזיות, הכל אגור, המוזיקה בחריצי התקליטים, האח בראש בעליית החפצים הדחויים. 2. אם תקום האישה ממיטתה ותפתח את המקרר, אפשר יהיה לראות את פניה, אפשר יהיה לראות את מבטה בגבינה המביטה חזרה מחוריה. אך באור הזה, החיוור, רואים שרעבונה פעור לאור אחר, ולא לכחלחל המרצד מן הטלוויזיה, ולא לאדום הבוקע מן השעון המעורר, או נאון הירח המנציץ את נברשת נשמתה, אור אחר היא צריכה, בלילה הממתין ככורסת עור שחורה לבולעה. 3. לא סתם אני עומדת כך בלילה, גחונה על הכיור, מאיישת עמדתי ושרה למרחק, דו גיצ'תה. כי כל מה שיכול מתרחק מן האדמה, עשן הערובה, תפילה, קפיצות האושר. אך בני הבית נושמים כמו צאן, ישנים בחדרם, אדוני רועם, ומתחת לבית מי התהום, ומתחת לתהום לבה של לאות. מואזין הטרנזיסטור. מואזין הטרנזיסטור עולה במטה. חסן, יחף ומחובר לאדמתי, לש את בצק הערב מקמח יהודי, יותר מדי עדין יא חגי, אני. שכבר עצמתי את עיניי הממיינות אחרי יום קטיף, שפופה איתו מעל לאש שהוא מבעיר. אנחנו מתכננים את האפרסקים של מחר, על אירופה וסיגריה ביתית. יחגי, ככה מגיחה אנחתו הערבית, נתמכת על יצורי שמי ההונגרי המסורס. בדמדומי הפוטוסינתזה האלה רצות ידיו מעל הפח, עושות בפיתה כשפים. חסן מארמן לי אגדות 1000 לילה ולילה מעזה, גופו שפיפון גמיש, עיניו תשובה לאש. שהידה, woman martyr. את רק בת 20, וההיריון הראשון שלך הוא פצצה. מתחת לשמלה הרחבה את הרה חומר נפץ, שבבים של מתכת, וכך את עוברת בשוק, מתקתקת בין האנשים ענדליב תקתקה. מישהו שינה לך בראש את ההברגה ושיגר אותך לעיר, ואת שבאת מבית לחם, בחרת לך דווקא מאפייה. שם שלפת מתוכך את הנצרה, וביחד עם חלות השבת, הפרג והסומסומים, העפת את עצמך לשמיים. ביחד עם רבקה פינק עפת, וילנה קונרייב מקווקז, ניסים כהן מאפגניסטן, וסוהילה חושי מאיראן, וגם 2 סינים גרפת איתך אל מותך. מאז כיסו עניינים אחרים את הסיפור שלך, שעליו אני מדברת ומדברת, מבלי שיהיה לי משהו להגיד. אווזים, גיס. אפשטיין, המורה שלי למתמטיקה, אהב להוציא אותי ללוח. אמר שהראש שלי מתאים רק לכובע. אמר שציפור עם שכל כמו שלי הייתה עפה אחורה. שלח אותי לראות אווזים. עכשיו במרחק שנים מן המשפט הזה, כשאני יושבת תחת הדקל עם 3 האווזים היפים שלי, אני חושבת שאולי הרחיק אז לראות המורה שלי למתמטיקה, והצדק היה עמו, כי אין מה שמשמח אותי יותר מאשר לראות אותם כעת, עטים על הלחם המפורר, מחשקשים בזנבם השמח, קופאים רגדום מתחת לרסיסי המים שאני מתיזה עליהם מן הצינור, זוקפים את ראשם וגופם נמתח אז כזוכר אגמים רחוקים. מאז מת כבר המורה שלי למתמטיקה, ומתו גם בעיותיו שאף פעם לא עלה בידי לפתור. אני אוהבת כובעים, ותמיד בערב, כשהציפורים חוזרות אל תוך העץ, אני מחפשת את זאת שעפה אחורה. טווילייט, לפנות ערב. אור אלכסוני, רך וזהוב, חמל פתאום על חדרי, וגרגרי אבק ממש מול עיניי ניצתו בזהב, וניצתו גם כלי הזכוכית וקורי העכביש המושלמים, ובמשקופים נלכדו כחולים שאין לתאר במילים, וניצתו גם ספריי האהובים המצופפים על המדפים. אור ליטף את רשימותיו של מלטה, לאורי, זבריגה, ואת זיכרונות אדריאנוס וסרמגו, את וואלה סטיבנס, שכנם של פסואה וקוואפיס, ומדריך כיס להודו שנקלע ביניהם. בחוץ חלפה מכונית, מישהי קראה לארוחת הערב, וגופי המרושל על הספה, לא זע דבר. אני פה, כהערה של הרגע, ואין לי אף שאלה. And now I would like to read one of Herbert's poems in Hebrew, Mr. Cogito 6, advice. מר קוגיטו מבקש עצה. כל כך הרבה ספרים, מילונים, אנציקלופדיות, אבות קרס, אבל אין מי שיעוץ לי עצה. חקרו את השמש, הירח, הכוכבים, אותי איבדו. נפשי דוחה את נחמות המדע, אזי בלילה היא נודדת בדרכי האבות. והנה העיירה ברצלב בשדה חמניות שחורות. זה המקום שנטשנו, זה המקום שצועק. שבת עכשיו, וכתמיד בשבת רקיע חדש נגלה. אני מחפש אותך רבי, הוא לא כאן, אומרים החסידים, הוא בעולם השאול. מוות יפה היה לו, אומרים החסידים, יפה עד מאוד, כמו עבר מפינה אחת אל פינה אחרת, שחור כולו, אחז בידיו ספר תורה בוער. אני מחפש אותך רבי, מאחורי איזה רקיע הסתרת אוזן חכמה. כואב לי הלב רבי, יש לי צרות, אולי היה יועץ לי רבי נחמן, אבל כיצד אמצאנו בערימות האפר. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You forgot your glasses. Agi Mishol spoke about translators. Part of her speech was about translation. The translators of Agi Mishol's poems into Polish are here with us today, and thank you very much. And one last thing, Amos Oz, when speaking about Agi Mishol's poetry, said that they tell stories, sing, and dance at the same time. And speaking of dance, we are about to see a dance performance by Adi Weinberg-Prejna, a dancer and choreographer who will perform a solo called Indian Summer, a story about how two worlds connect. We follow the artist and follow the voice of her blind grandmother to the Polish shtetl where she grew up. The dancer's body becomes an instrument for the voices of the past, and the audience witnesses the passage of spirits as in Jewish folklore or Hasidic mysticism. Adi Weinberg-Prejna.
Komu się pytać? Wiesz, żałuję czasami, że nie mam komu się pytać. Nie mogę mówić moje usta. nie ma, nie mogę mówić moje usta. Komu się pytać? Wiesz, żałuję czasami, że nie mam komu się pytać. To był inny czas. Nie pamiętam. Ja nie pamiętam. Nie pamiętam.
Adi Weinberg Prena and Indian Summer, thank you very much and have a great evening. And join us downstairs for the reception.